What's up, guys? Mott here. Welcome to the Mott Show on a Friday. I am traveling, mobile setup here, but there was a ton of interesting OTA stuff from yesterday. Let's go ahead and start. First, though, Vic Fangio at Dolphins OTAs. Fascinating clip here as he was asked, "Hey, Vic, would you have been the Eagles defensive coordinator if Jonathan Gannon hadn't screwed everything up?" Listen to what he said.
That if not for the Jonathan Gannon tampering situation, you would have been the Eagles D coordinator. Is there any truth to that? Can you comment on that?
That's possible, but I won't neither confirm nor deny it.
Sounds like he would have been. Now, he didn't straight up admit it, but it sounds like that was the plan for Fangio to take over the DC job. But with the whole Jonathan Gannon dragging his feet, potentially coming back, the tampering situation, you lose Vic Fangio to be the Dolphins defensive coordinator, which we'll never know if it would have been an actual difference, if, he's better than Sean Desai. Sean Desai is a Fangio disciple, and so the hope is he's the younger version, maybe the new and improved version. I don't know. But everyone hates Jonathan Gannon for a multitude of reasons. If you really wanted Vic Fangio, there's another reason why you can be really upset and frustrated with what Jonathan Gannon did to Philadelphia. Now, let's go ahead and get to some of the stuff that happened during the Eagle OTA. Not only practice yesterday, the final one indoors for, I guess, the summer, as they're going to go ahead and have a break for a couple of months. Well, you got people at the podium, you got people watching practice. And our first note here is from Nick Sirianni. He was asked about the Eagles' interest in Hopkins. He didn't say no, but he didn't say yes, obviously. But here's what he said, quote, "I was always looking for opportunities to make the team better. I'm really excited with the group that we have. You never know what's going to happen." Now, Hopkins reportedly had a visit, or has a visit coming up with the Tennessee Titans, and today he's scheduled to visit with the New England Patriots, who seemingly are a big-time favorite to go ahead and sign the wide receiver due to the fact that him and Coach Bill Belichick have this kind of, I guess you call it a working relationship. Bill Belichick's a big fan of Hopkins, and so while I've said many times before, I doubt he comes to Philadelphia, someone finally asked Sirianni about it, and he basically gave you the you never know with Howie Roseman, because Howie Roseman is absolutely incredible at what he does. Okay, over here to Nick Sirianni's other message. He had one final message to the football team as they leave OTAs and get ready for the next time they see him, which will be during training camp, and he basically said this. Number one, come back in the best shape of your life. Number two, stay out of the news. If that's not the perfect overall ask of your football team going into the wild offseason, essentially, because teams are going to not be getting together and people aren't going to be working out the NovaCare complex 24/7. You're going to go on vacation. These are the most two important things right now for everyone in Philadelphia. Get in the best shape ever. That means don't get lazy, don't not work out, don't get a little, fat on the couch eating your potato chips, and don't get in the news. Don't get, popular on Twitter. Don't tweet something that you're going to regret. Don't get into any sort of legal trouble. Come back in the best shape of your life and stay out of the news. I think we can thumbs up for that. That's what you want. You want no news around Philadelphia regarding the current players that are on the football team until we get back for OTAs, or back for training camp and back getting ready for the start of the season. Now, Nick Sirianni was asked about standouts so far during the spring edition of OTAs, and it's fascinating the one player he went ahead and singled out. It's Quez Watkins. He raved about Quez Watkins yesterday when he was asked. See a tweet here from Brandon Lee Gouton, quote, "When asked about spring standouts, Nick Sirianni said he has no problem signaling Quez Watkins out. He said Quez has done a phenomenal job this offseason. Phenomenal job." And we had heard rumblings about Quez Watkins looking better at little mini camps and OTAs, but how much can you actually believe out there, right? I mean, we're talking about people standing on the sidelines, reporters like you and I sitting there and being like, "Oh yeah, Quez is catching more passes. He looks pretty good." Like, there's no way to actually know. But Nick Sirianni, an actual coach who's talking to other coaches, including Brian Johnson, quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, and they're all looking at Quez Watkins and saying he's looking pretty darn good. And while Quez, a breakout year for him is not 100 catches and 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, a breakout year for him as a wide receiver 3 would be 60 catches for 720 yards and 6 touchdowns. That'd be a huge year for Quez Watkins. That would get him a brand new contract either in Philadelphia or as a wide receiver 2 somewhere else. He has the skill set. He's big enough. He's fast enough. He knows this offensive system. He's everything that you want in a wide receiver 3. His problem has been drops and inconsistencies at the wrong times. Always Nelson Aguilar's issue is the same thing with Quez Watkins. But if he's actually about to take that vaunted next step, Philadelphia is going to be in a very, very good spot, because then who's covering these guys? Someone's got to cover A.J. Brown, your number one corner. Your number 2 guy's got to be on Devontae Smith. You got to make sure your best safety is covering Dallas Goedert. So you're having your 3rd best cornerback cover Quez Watkins, and if he has a breakout year, who knows? I always say Just because a wide receiver looks good at OTAs and training camp, especially in the Philadelphia Eagles organization, does not guarantee they're actually going to be good. Jalen Reagor was the training camp phenom every year he was in Philadelphia, and then he would get to the regular season and, well, poop the bed. He was terrible. He was absolutely awful. So it doesn't guarantee anything, but the fact that we heard from the horse's mouth, from Nick Sirianni yesterday, that he's looking that good is very, very good news for Philadelphia. The other star of Eagle OTAs, and this to me is the most exciting and most interesting part of the entire offseason spring workouts, has been Christian Ellis, the young linebacker, who nobody knows. No one even knew he was on this roster going into the start of training camp. Like, truly, it was like, who's Christian Ellis? He's not better than Davion Taylor or Sean Bradley or N'Kobe Dean or Nicholas Morrow. And yet, not only has Christian Ellis been working with the first team defense, starting alongside N'Kobe Dean in 7-on-7s and in 11-on-11s, he's picking off Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota. Look at this. Thomas R. Peterson, quote, Christian Ellis with 2 INTs, one off Hurts, one off Mariota each, and a pass breakup in 2 open OTA practices. He started with the first team along with N'Kobe Dean. Now, people get interceptions all the time. Just because a quarterback throws a pick during training camp or during OTAs does not mean it was the quarterback's fault. Sometimes you're working situationally, and so you're trying to force the football to a certain spot. Linebacker sits on it, gets a pick. But the fact he's starting in these 7-on-7s and in these 11-on-11s, to me, is a mega story. It's a massive story. And that means that right now, if the season were to start today, he'd be your starting linebacker. Now, Morrow is taking time to learn the defense. He's learning all the new verbiage. We heard how difficult the Sean Desai defense possibly can be to learn. Doesn't mean he's not going to be good or he's not going to start, but you might have your breakout candidate for 2023 right there in the young linebacker and Christian Ellis. And honestly, I could care less who starts at linebacker. I want the 2 best players out there. And you kind of like the idea of Ellis and N'Kobe Dean because Ellis is a little bit bigger. Dean, he's not small, but he's more of a speed, run laterally, not vertically on the football field. And if you can have the combination of size and speed at your 2 starting linebacker spots, both of which are young and getting paid pennies on the dollar, Philadelphia is going to be in very, very good hands. Again, you take things with a grain of salt. This doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't necessarily say that Ellis will be the starter week 1. This is just OTAs. It is 7-on-7s, a little bit of 11-on-11s. You need actual pads on, actual training camp, maybe even actual preseason first-team reps to really kind of convince me that he's going to be the guy, because I thought it was going to be Morrow and N'Kobe Dean. But keep an eye on Christian Ellis. Other people have talked about him. I'm finally kind of taking a look, and if he's the real deal, we're going to find out pretty darn soon. But I think very interesting that he is going to have, some opportunities here to win a wide open linebacker job. There are only a couple of open starting spots that are really available going into training camp. Right guard, Steen versus Juergens. Safety, because it feels like Edmonds and then whoever, whether it's Blankenship or Kayvon Wallace or Sidney Brown. And then, of course, you have the linebacker spot. And so this is the one I'm very curious and very interested to go ahead and see and keep an eye on. Okay, plenty more stuff happening over the next couple of days and weeks. Get ready as we go into full off-season mode starting on Monday, because OTAs will have taken a break. If you appreciate the show, you like what you see, hit the red subscribe button. Also give the show a thumbs up, helps people go ahead and find it. And if you want to talk on Twitter, send me a DM, @ThomasMott on Twitter. I almost answer every single DM if you guys want to talk birds there, or just do it down in the comment section. Either one works. Again, Thomas Mott on a Friday, reporting obviously not from my home studio. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.